Hi, this is Tom Tresser, your friendly neighborhood civic educator and public defender. Today's podcast is based on my Civic Notes email newsletter, which you can find out about at my website at tresser.com. Today's focus will be on more public. And I was thinking about who has done a great job in Chicago for lifting up, defending, and sort of explaining what the heck public is all about, especially about a special place. And I thought of Jack and Deborah, who have been longtime activists on the south side of Chicago in the Hyde Park area. There's something special that they've been working on, which is called the Promontory Point. So I would like you guys to say hello and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what that space is and how you got involved in it.
Tom, thank you for having us both. I will talk a little bit. This all got started back in the 80s when the lake level was so high, and Lakeshore Drive was getting flooded and getting threatened. So a bunch of people went to work with the federal government to get some money and a plan. What they came up with originally was to rebuild the 8 miles of limestone block revetment along Lakeshore Drive and along the edge of on the edge of Lake Michigan. What they actually started doing was building it, destroying the revetment and reconstructing it in concrete and steel. It was contrary to the expectations and contrary to the legislation. They just did it on their own. And we saw this coming. There's a little section at 54th Street, 53rd Street, that they did because it's very close to Lakeshore Drive. And they did that in the late 90s. And we saw what was coming to Promontory Point. So when they held their first community meeting in 2000 to announce their plans, we were ready for them. And we disrupted that meeting. This was in January of 2000, right after the millennium. And we disrupted them. We've been fighting them ever since. So this is now 25 years of struggle.
25 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a map up so people can see. We're talking about Lake Michigan. That's where we are, Chicago. And Promontory Point is around like 53rd Street or 55th Street. So again, for people who are not in Chicago, you know, the zero line kind of cuts through the heart of the loop of Chicago, and then you go south and north. It's a grid system. So it's a few miles, you know, south of the loop, you'd say, you know, along the lakefront. And it's a particular part of land that sort of juts out. So it's a point, like a little knobby land. And so what's on this land? What's so great about this little particular place?
Well, first place, it's entirely man-made. It was a WPA project during the late 30s. So none of this is natural lakefront, but it was created and designed to look like natural lakefront. It looks like the coast of Maine is what it looks like. And then
the peninsula is landfill that was made in the 20s. Chicago had this pioneering way of keeping the Lake Michigan from damaging private property built along the lakefront. So they kept doing lake fill out into the lake and making it public parks. And that happened in the 20s. And then in the 30s with the WPA. Go ahead, Jack.
Then they filled the Promontory Point that they had created, and then and Alfred Caldwell became the landscape designer hired that he was working for the Chicago Park District. Then he's Jens Jensen's prime student, and he has this wonderful way of creating designs that involve slow motion and deep emotion, and that's what he did at Promontory Point.
So how big a piece of land is it? Is it a few acres or?
It's 40 acres.
40.
So it goes from the middle of East 54th Street to the middle of East 56th Street.
Okay.
But it juts out. So and we're particularly concerned about the 3,150 linear feet along the edge of this peninsula that's built in this historic limestone block revetment structure.
So this is, again, it's part of the park system.
Yep.
Along Lakeshore Drive. So you would be driving south and north along Lakeshore Drive for people who are not from Chicago. And as you do so, to your east, you'll see beaches, parkland that stretches basically the entire breadth of the city. Yep. And there's some history there. I mean, the idea of keeping the lakefront open and free is not that part of Chicago's historic legacy.
It's very unique for Chicago.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
If you think about other cities, particularly on the Great Lakes, there's industry or private property, sort of Miami Beach structures
yeah,
along the lakefront.
hotels,
Exactly.
railroad yards, um, other kinds of staging areas, what have you, for industry. But for people who are, of course, from Chicago, they may be taking this for granted and just kind of go, that's how it always is. But as you say, in other spaces and places, the other four Great Lakes, you go up to Milwaukee, go to Cleveland or other places that have lakefront. There's factories, in use, out of use. You can't maybe even get to the lake in some places.
Correct.
Hmm.
Not so here. Okay, so this is a particular part of this long lakefront that goes all the way from Evanston, stretches around the curve of Chicago all the way to Indiana. And so this particular part is in the community that we're calling Hyde Park. So 25 years of working to save it and make sure that it's okay. I know you have cleanup days. You have a lot of activities with something called the Promontory Park Conservatory. Tell us a little bit about what that does.
Well, it's the Promontory Point Conservancy, but nice try, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
So talk about yourself, Jack, because you're the president and one of the co-founders.
I'm one of the co-founders and the president at the moment. This was an organization that started in protest for what the Park District wanted to do. There was at that point called Save the Point. And Leslie Harrison, then the alderman, was very supportive of us and helped us get started and helped us stop the Park District in their tracks at the time. And that eventually evolved. We decided to apply for status under the National Historic Preservation Act and to get on the National Register, which we did. And then later on, we worked to become a Chicago landmark. So we're an official Chicago landmark as well. So that's
and it should be noted, this place is used. I mean, people are going there
all year. Yeah, all year
recreating
long.
themselves.
Every year. There are people who swim out there in the winter. They'll chip holes in the ice and they'll
Jump right in.
there. Yeah, it's amazing.
So it's a place that has a lot of love from the community. It's a place where people are going to picnic and recreate themselves. And I know you do a lot of activities. So you're doing cleanup days, but also you've got some other things going on too, like learning and other things. No?
Yeah, on the 5th, we're having
October 5th, yeah.
October 5th, we're having Bill Swislow, who has recorded all of the carvings on the limestone revetment up and down the lakefront. He will be giving a tour. I'll be giving a tour about the historic landscape there. We'll have a friend of ours will be giving a tour if people want to find what they can eat off the ground in terms of plants.
Oh, like foraging.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a professional forager.
And this is great. So you're not only trying to keep what's there, and make it strong and surviving, but you're adding all this extra content like learning and appreciation and fun stuff.
If we weren't fighting the Park District and the Army Corps and CDOT over preserving the limestone, that's what we'd be spending all of our time doing, is having fun things and educational things and meaningful things for people to do at the point. But you're right, it's a really diverse community. Lots of people come for lots of different reasons. Some people call it the Church of the Point because it's a very spiritual place. People have concerts there. People have running meets there. And people come from all over the neighborhood. Like Alderman Cicho Lopez from Pilsen comes there with his triplets.
They go swimming
all the way from Pilsen.
There's a woman.
And you mentioned in passing, people may have,
there every day.
People may have missed this, but you mentioned the landscaper who is Alfred Caldwell,
right?
Who did the lily pond.
Oh, right. Yes, right before he did Promontory Point, he did the lily pool, which is a real example of what the Park District can do right when they try.
And so that's up at the zoo. So for people who are not familiar, it's at the Lincoln Park Zoo, and this is environment. It's quite large.
It's gorgeous.
Very beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful park. It's one of the best things.
And so that guy designed that, and then he also did the landscaping. So it's not just a nice place, but it actually has some artistic intention there, it seems like.
It's very, very, if you watch people come to the point, they travel very slowly, they walk through it, or they're riding their bikes slowly, but it's not a race, and not people are trying to accomplish something. They're trying to meditate and feel the power of it. And it goes slow, and there's a deep emotion at the point. I mean, everybody who comes there feels that. You can just we talk to people all the time, just ask them why they're there, what it means to them. And they always talk about the spiritual dimension of it and the community, the fact that there's all kinds of people there getting along just fine, not fighting, no violence. Everybody feels safe.
Hmm.
It's all kinds of people from all over the city. It's not just a Hyde Park thing.
Well, again, that's a meditation on the power of public. This is a public space that's being carefully loved by you and your neighbors. So, you guys have been involved in a lot of stuff in Hyde Park around parks and public space. What is your thinking about like just public space generally? Like this is an example of a great public space.
One of the things you can tell about a public space is that people feel like it belongs to them. They
Hmm.
don't feel like guests there. And that's the way it is at the Point. People feel like the Point belongs to them. It's our Point, it's our community's Point, and we're not giving it up for nothing.
Hmm.
And people are willing to defend it. And this is 25 years of a almost total community commitment to saving Promontory Point. And that says something about what kind of space it is for people. It really is public in that sense. It's about the community. Communities take a long time to develop and become established, and you can blow them up overnight, but you can't rebuild them overnight. And this has been there for a long time. People have made our community for a long, long, long time, and they're willing to fight to keep it that way.
Well, and you can meditate on that and apply that to other public spaces and places, in not just this city, but other cities. I know, for example, people feel strongly about parts of Lincoln Park and, of course, Washington Park.
Yep.
So to the African American community has a lot of meaning. People have family reunions and baseball and sports and place to come and drink a beer and walk your dog, throw your frisbee, bring the kids. So, like you say, it's important for us to remember and lift up this idea of public, in this case, a public space, but we might also meditate on public libraries, public schools, public health. But for now, I think you're helping us understand the magic really of this public place, what it means. It's hard to quantify how much all that is worth, but it's immense, I would say.
Well, it's huge. It's one of those wonderful third places where people could come together that wouldn't otherwise know each other, wouldn't otherwise care about each other. And the real tragedy here is what the Park District is proposing to do would close Promontory Point entirely for 5 years. The community would be destroyed. It took 85 years to create this community, and it could be destroyed overnight.
But tell us, what is going on with the city? I mean, here you guys are, connected to the aldermen, well-known community leaders. I mean, you guys got like 5 PhDs on parks. You could like teach a class. And as you say, you've been through this fight, with the various agencies. What is going on with the city? Why are they so intractable?
Deborah, take it away.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm afraid we can't answer it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. This could truly be a win-win for everyone, so everyone's benefited. So the Army Corps, the city, the Chicago Department of Transportation, CDOT, and the Chicago Park District have the funding for a storm damage and shoreline protection project. This is actually back in 1994, the original Chicago Shoreline Project. 2 portions of that Chicago lakefront were never constructed. Morgan Shoal, which is from 45th Street to 51st Street, and then Promontory Point. And so back in December of 2022, the agencies got a funding authorization to move forward for design and construction at Morgan Shoal and Promontory Point. From what we can tell, they're planning on demolishing the historic limestone revetment and replace it with a new structure for the cost of $100 million. So what we did so the community over this long stretch has actually raised the money to do 4 engineering reports. And this year we released 4 new studies, brand new studies, looking at Promontory Point, a condition study to show that it has not failed. It's functioning right now for the purpose it was intended, for coastal resilience, that it can be fixed and fairly easily and fairly cheaply for roughly half the cost, because the materials are all there, and it's just about putting in some new stabilizing materials underneath the promenade and repositioning the blocks. You don't have to take the whole thing apart. So it's in place in kind materials. So we were able to raise that money mostly from the community. We got some grants from the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and Landmarks Illinois to help us along for the last bit. So we're still fighting to save the point. As of June 16th, we know that they have not altered their plans. That they are moving ahead for demolition and replacement, even though it's technically illegal given the preservation status.
So it's kind of we don't really have a theory of the case. I always think it's look at the money. Somebody's making money from this. That's my completely unsupported conjecture.
No, I think you're right about that. One of the things I'll add here is that when we first decided to get these independent third-party engineering reviews done, we went to some of the local engineering companies, and they all said unilaterally, unanimously, this is an easy project, as easy preservation project that can be done, but we can't touch it.
Yeah, don't tell anybody we even answered the phone.
Wow.
So we found engineers out of New York who are really amazing. For one thing, they've worked on every inch of Manhattan Island, either for the Army Corps or with the Army Corps. And then they're a firm of record for the Army Corps' Marine Design Center. So they come with impeccable credentials. This is McLaurin Engineering Group. And then we were able to fund a historic structures report from Miss Jenny Elsner. And, you know, there's a variety of ways that you can fix the revetment without destroying it. They're all economical and affordable. We're not toting a complete, competitive plan. We're just trying to make sure that there's a reasonable preservation approach and that the community has input into what happens.
Right. It's, as you say, people feel like it's their park. It's their point. And you guys have deep knowledge about not just the environment, but the engineering and, kind of like the mechanics or even dare I say, the physics of water on stone, way beyond the casual park goer, I would say. But I hope that those watching understand the depth of love and commitment from these two people to this particular place, that they have gone so deep into this knowledge to be able to speak authoritatively. I would imagine that you could hold your own with an engineer, with a landscape architect.
We do.
In these spaces and places where they come and they tend to pontificate and they want to hear like 2 minutes from you.
That's right.
And I've been in those situations.
No, it's very performative. I mean, they want to pretend, but they're not actually listening. They're not even taking it in.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad because Mayor Johnson, used to be a school teacher. So where's the schooling here? I used to be a union organizer. So where's the power to the people? All gone. Don't see it. So Promontory Point, beautiful place, seems to be in danger again. What can people do?
Well, the first thing they can do is come to the point and enjoy it. That feeling, that emotion builds up over time, and you can actually feel it when you walk onto the point. You can feel all the people and all the pleasure that the people have had in that public space. So come and enjoy it. Subscribe to our newsletter at promontorypoint.org. And if you can contribute to our struggle, please do that too.
And the agencies will be holding their community meetings. We don't know when, maybe next year. So it's very important that people who go to the point and love the point show up at these meetings and speak out. So when they're asked, do you want pink concrete or blue concrete, the answer is no concrete.
Yeah, don't be fooled by that choice. But you make a point there, Deborah. The idea is if you love something, sometimes you got to fight for it. Don't take it for granted. And that's a problem, I think, with America. We take a lot for granted here, whether it's democracy, the rule of law, or the park that you go to every day with your kids. You think it's always going to be there, all right? Guess what? It could not be there. So yeah, it's a time to step up, I think, in our public life, if you will.
Hmm.
And if you don't think you have any skin in the game, think again. Because if they can take that part, they can do that. I mean, what else can they do? And in this arrogant way of, contracts coming from we don't know where, we don't know who's making money. It doesn't seem to make any sense. All these pieces of outrage have happened over and over again, not just to your space, but in a lot of places.
No, that's a
So,
good point because we've got the engineering and the economics and the environmental justice piece, nailed down. But it's really up to people showing up and speaking out.
It's politics now, and people speak up and they get heard. If
they
enough
got to
people
be
speak up
heard.
often enough, they get heard.
Yeah.
Got to be heard. Sadly, that is a true thing. That you got to show your power. You got to bring people to those meetings. People should. We'll put the links, into this, so people can go to your website. They should sign up for your email newsletters, so they'll be up to date with all these different meetings that are happening. Sometimes they're scheduled very quickly, again on purpose,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
in inconvenient times and places, again on purpose. But again, if you're going to love on this park, if you're going to love on this place, you got to say, okay, I'll come to the meeting, even if it's at noon. I'll have to figure it out, and get yourself to that meeting and, do your homework, check in with the leadership of this organization. And so maybe you'll take a sign or you'll sign up to speak. I mean, not just show up, but show up intelligently is what I would say to people who are listening to you.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fascinating, and I could talk to you guys forever because this is just part of your work. You've done so much other things in Hyde Park, around Jackson Park, and other places and spaces. But I want to conclude our time together and ask each of you what I call the 5 questions. And these are the 5 questions, and you can each answer them in turn. Um, um, what are you personally fighting for? I think you've given us a good example of that. How does the word public show up for you? Who influenced you in your work? And then what words do you have for young organizers or young fighters for justice who may be listening? So we'll start with Jack. What are you fighting for?
I'm really fighting for the community that's grown up at Promontory Point. It's a way to, I feel, part of the public, part of a community, and I don't want to lose that. And communities get built very, very slowly, and they're very fragile. They're strong, but they're also fragile. They can get broken up in a moment. And that's what we're fighting to protect. As much as the limestone revetment, we're fighting to protect that community that's existed at Promontory Point, that anybody is welcome to. Anybody in Chicago, anybody anywhere. We were out there yesterday with a cleanup. We had some people from Spain who showed up because they had heard that it was a wonderful place, and they felt it, and they felt welcome there. We were happy to welcome them to the Promontory Point, and that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Deborah, what are you fighting for?
Oh, well, double ditto. To stop the demolition of the historic limestone revetment, and the clear cutting of the trees and the closing the point for 5 years. But when they do that, they're going to destroy this really remarkable, diverse community that's formed at the point, and that's been there for nearly 100 years, and they're out there every day. Somebody's out there every day of the year doing something, meditating, praying, meeting friends, having their first date, swimming, whatever. The park is always in use, so it's worth fighting for, and it's worth saving.
Fantastic. So, Jack, how does the word public show up for you? What does that mean to you?
It just is, as I said before, Tom, it's about community. And
Mm.
community is a wonderful thing to have. We can't live without it. And it's easily destroyed by big business and by bad government. And we're trying to prevent that.
How about you, Deborah? Word public, what does that mean for you?
Well, what it means for me is parks for people. This is about the public trust doctrine, that land gets set aside, it gets reserved for the well-being of people, the people who live there, the people who come to visit. It's not for commercial purposes. It's not for private real estate purposes. This is public land for parks for people. And most of all, it's that community that's made what it needs. It's this
Mm.
remarkably safe, peaceful, beautiful third space in the city. It's become a refuge and a sanctuary from the hassle of the city. And we hear that from people all the time. And that's a really amazing thing that has happened in a public space by
Mm.
the people who love that public space. And it's pretty extraordinary.
Who influenced you in your work, well, Jack?
Well, Jane Jacobs for sure, because Jane Jacobs understood the damage that bad government and big business can do to communities and how fragile they are on that. So she was a real motivator for me when I was first getting involved in preservation. Ivan Illich, another great writer from my day. Probably I don't know if anybody reads Ivan anymore, but he was a very strong proponent for people living their own experience,
Mm.
not listening to everybody else from the outside, not listening to experts, and not listening to government, but taking care of themselves and being resilient and self-reliant. Um, and I suppose also Jens Jensen, who was Alfred Caldwell's mentor. He had a wonderful attitude towards how to combine both nature and urban civilization in a way that works for both.
Mm.
Alfred Caldwell, being his major student, did a beautiful job of doing exactly that at the point. I mean, you're in the city and you're not at the same time, and they're just not antagonistic. It's a
Right,
marriage.
right. It's like a work of art. How about yourself, Deborah? Who influenced you?
Well, um, Rabbi Arnold Jacob Wolf was a rabbi here in Hyde Park. He wasn't just a spiritual teacher; he was a political activist also. So he was working in the 1950s and early 60s. He was working for peace in the Middle East. He was advising Palestinians about nonviolent resistance as a way to get statehood until he realized that everybody he was working with was getting assassinated. At any rate, he never sidestepped controversy when he was in pursuit of justice and equality and freedom. And that's an inspiration. But I've come to appreciate Alfred Caldwell a lot because he's designing parks. I mean, he wasn't just designing parks. It turns out that he was building them with the people that he hired. He was out there working with them to make
Hmm.
these parks, which I think is pretty extraordinary. So it was this collaborative thing that he was doing. I really like that. And he really cared about democratic space. And he was designing parks to be democratic. So if you think about the council rings at Promontory Point, there are circles. There's no head of the table. There's no one in a leadership position. Everybody is equidistant from the source of heat, the source of nourishment, access to Lake Michigan is very much in the spirit and the design of what he was doing. I appreciate that. So
That's beautiful. We'll put links to all these individuals. And finally, Jack, what words of wisdom would you have for some young fighter that might be listening to this?
Fight and be persistent about what you care about and what your friends care about and what your community cares about. That's all that we really have to go through this dark, dark period as community and taking care of one another. And don't give up. Just be persistent. Be persistent. Be persistent.
after
And
25 years, Jack and I are hoping that we live long enough to see a good outcome at the point.
we'll give you the last word, Deborah. Your words of wisdom.
Don't be afraid to stop and pause and listen to people, because people have really powerful stories that shape the actions that we need to take together to preserve and protect our communities in the midst of all this change that's happening pretty rapidly. But I think it starts with listening and caring about each other.
Well, I'm listening and I'm caring about you guys right now. That's for sure.
Thank you.
So this is Tom Tresser, Civic Notes. Our edition here is we're dealing with two public champions that I would say are fighting for not just park space, but I would say democracy space, to put it bluntly. Jack Spicer and Deborah Hammond of Hyde Park, Chicago, The organization that they're working with is called the Promontory Point Conservancy, and we hope that you will connect with them and send them some civic love. So thanks again
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for the
very
time.
much.
Thank you for the attention.